Well. Welcome to Friday night. It is 7:30. I have no idea where my children are, but I see we got some viewers, so we're going to go with that. Um, the chat is already lighting up. I see Liz is here. Hello there. Uh, Kevin's hanging around for some reason. I thought he was taking the weekend off, but okay. And Miss Beth is here, among others. Yeah, I see you, Kev. I see you. All right. So, salute to everybody here. All right. I ain't against it. All right. Oh ho ho, we got Mama Deal here. All right. So, I'm going to jump right into the shout outs cuz we got a special lady here tonight in the chat. Mama Deal is here. It is Mama Deal's birthday. So, happy birthday to Mama Deal. And yeah, let's see some HBDs in the chat there. And you know what? Uh, Shout out to the company I work for. I absolutely smashed a deer on Tuesday night. Um, so I'm going to give a shout out to the makers and designers of the Toyota Tacoma because that truck took a beating, looked like it got the shit kicked out of it by Christine, and managed to make it home. So, hey, shout out to Toyota. Shout out. Um, but yeah, we've got some business to discuss. I know it's going to be an early night for at least one of you. So we're going to try to cram in as much stuff as we can here tonight. Unfortunately, I do have to work in the morning, so this may potentially only be an hour. But I think you guys are all right with that. Maybe. So, shout outs all complete. The thing about that deer was it was a solid 6 or 8 pointer. Had to have dressed out about 170 to 190 pounds. I am so pissed it got into the ditch and got buried into the freaking ditch because I had room in the truck. I could have taken it home. I mean, you're not wrong, Miss Beth. Um, but anywho'ser, got a little bit of business to cover here, and we're gonna just come right out front and say it. There will be a taste test tonight. I do have a spooky tale out of one of my vast collection of paranormal books. We do have NFL talk, which I'm going to get to right as soon as I get done previewing everything else. I do have my Thanksgiving main dish, um, Mount Rushmore. We're going to have potentially a spirited discussion about this. And then we'll just wrap it up with some Ask Corey Almost Anything. So feel free to join in, keep chatting it up. I will try my best to pay attention to the chat while I'm doing everything else here. So, on that note, let's check out our Week 11 NFL results, which actually I did not wind up doing too bad. I finished with a 10-4 record, which is excellent. 10-4 record. The only ones I'm really irritated at missing is all of them. I thought for sure Detroit would beat Philadelphia. They did not. I thought for sure the Chargers would beat the Jaguars. They did not. I thought for sure Minnesota would beat the Bears, and no, they did not. And then Atlanta absolutely should have won, and yet they didn't. So I don't know what's going on there. Uh, Kev, I think you missed. I didn't really look it up, but I think you missed maybe a couple more than I did. I want to say you probably, at best, probably went 8-6. I know you completely whiffed on the Packer game. Um, oh, and the Dallas game. So yeah, at the very best, 8-6. I'm pretty sure you took Atlanta as well. Um, so outside of like the Packer pick and the Dallas pick, I think we were both right on the. I think we were both pretty much together. I'll look it up later just to see what we got. I know I got it down here somewhere, so I'll get it sorted out and post it later. Now, for Kevin's picks, you guys can go to the Widiots Facebook page and see what all he picked for this coming weekend. It's week 12. Um, so his are posted. You can either read them now or come back or go back to it later. Again, it's on the Facebook page. Um, so with that in mind, I'm going to go through the Sunday lineup. We already had a game last night. Houston beat Buffalo for like the sixth time in 9 games or something crazy like that. But for week 12, we have Pittsburgh against Chicago. If Aaron Rodgers plays, Chicago loses. That's kind of been the rule of thumb for the last like 15 years, 20 years, I guess, pretty close. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh over Chicago regardless. I think that defense will probably catch up and play decent. Next up, we got the Patriots and the Bengals. I will take the Patriots. I don't care if Joe Burrow's back or if he's close to back. The Bengals aren't beating the Pats. Next up, we got the Lions and the Giants. Duh, give me the Lions. Winston's starting again, so he's gonna throw a interception or 20. Green Bay is hosting Minnesota at noon. Give me Green Bay. They are undefeated. The Packers are undefeated when my dad's in the house. My old man's going to the game this Sunday. So, yeah, if you see him on camera, shout him out. Kind of looks like me, only taller and older. Then we have Seattle and Tennessee. Give me Seattle. Colts taking on the Chiefs. I'm going to ride with Kevin on this one. I'm taking the Colts. Baltimore and the Jets. Give me Baltimore. Browns and Raiders. And we're the Cleveland Browns. I'm taking the Browns to win that one. It's probably going to be a punt party, but it is what it is. Jacksonville seems like they've figured out who they are. I think they beat Arizona. Philadelphia is going to beat Dallas. I have no doubt about that. Atlanta going into New Orleans, or hosting them, I don't remember which. Even though Kirk Cousins is going to be the starting QB, I feel like Atlanta's going to win this one. Then we have the Rams and the Buccaneers in the Sunday night tilt. Give me the Rams. I do like the Buccaneers, but give me the Rams on this one. And then the Monday night game, which, whew, if this would have been a week to flex a game, this would have been the week to do it. Because we have San Francisco taking on the Carolina Panthers. San Francisco all day. It's probably going to be a bloodbath. And that's all she wrote on the NFL picks. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. I feel pretty good about that. I'm willing to, well, yeah, I'm willing to bet I get probably above average. All right, so on to the next thing. Ladies, you can come back. Football talk is over. I managed to keep it under 5 minutes, so just come on back. Gonna do some taste tests now. And yeah, this should be something. So, first one, hot chili squid. So, we're going to do hot chili squid tonight. And I appreciate that, Liz. Appreciate you, Beth. All right. And Kev, we do have another flavor here. So we have hot chili squid. Then we got this guy, which is going to be Korean style pickled vegetable flavor. Korean style pickled vegetable. All right. Are you ready to feel my pain? Hot chili squid, first out of the gates. Oh, all right. The smell is brutal, you guys. Oh, that smell is brutal. And it's a ridge chip. And we all know the ridge chips hold the flavor better. Could very well be. Could very well be an all-timer. All right, hot chili squid, first out of the gates. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. Divulge. Okay, so the interesting thing is that it tastes better than it smells. It's not that hot, but I'm not really catching any squid. I'm getting some heat, and I'm getting kind of a weird sweet flavor, but I'm not getting squid. So, I don't know. I would say that it's definitely a dud on the flavor. I don't know. I would say at best, 4 out of 10. Not that great. Not that bad, but not that great. All right, on to the Korean style pickled vegetable flavor. Okay, this one doesn't smell half bad. Yeah, no puking tonight. I don't foresee that happening. And Liz, I was definitely expecting way more out of that one. At the very least, a reaction. All right, so let's see what we got with this Korean style pickled vegetable flavor. Another ridge chip. It's a good sign. You know, I do enjoy a good pickled vegetable. Pickled beets are up there. Um, Pickles, like regular ass pickles, sweet pickles, dill pickles. Uh, Pickled green beans, pickled okra. I love things that are pickled. That being said, this doesn't really hold up that well. There is a little bit of pickling spice that I do taste. I don't think it's going to raise it to average. I will say it's better than the hot chili squid, but not by much. So I'm going to give this Korean style pickled vegetable flavor 4.5. 4.5 out of 10. You know what else is false advertisement? Driving by a red roof inn that don't have a red roof. Mm-hmm. All right. Gotta give the people what they want. So hang on, let me cleanse the palate. All right. Gotta give them what they want. So, Korean style pickled vegetable. Yeah, that one's garbage. Let me get a better chip. Okay. Hot chili squid. Comboed up. Here we go. Okay, individually they were both awful. Teamed up, they're even more awful. The combo is a 2. Not the worst thing I put in my mouth, but pretty close. Yeah, these are definitely not my favorite. Um, I think next week I do believe I'll be trying 2 different Dorito flavors, so that can be fun. Both international. I think one is some sort of barbecue, and I'm not entirely sure what the other one is, but um, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And before anyone asks, I am drinking Athletic Light. It's probably one of the best non-alcoholic beers in the nation, bar none. Yep, that is definitely a thing I'm going to be doing at some point, Liz. I know PopCon has a pretty solid collection of international sodas, and I can dig around at Woodman's and other fine liquor retailers for foreign beers. So trust me, that's happening. Just haven't quite got that far yet. I think it needs to be a little bit colder before I enjoy a good, genuine German beer. So give it time, but I'll make it happen. So let's get on to spooky time. Tonight's spooky time reading materials are going to be pretty interesting. Yes, they are, Liz. I fully agree with you there. Tonight's spooky talk is going to be from this wonderful book, UFO Wisconsin: A Progress Report. It's by Noah Voss And the foreword is by friend of the show, Chad Lewis. He might not be a friend of the show yet, but I'm hoping at some point he will be, because he's great. So let's see what we have available here. Um, um, all right, so there is some coverage on Madison in this book. So I'm going to flip to page 45. There's like 35 pages of shit from Madison. I'm not going to read all of it, but I'm going to see if there's some sampling sizes here. It's been a while since I busted this book open. So I'm going to just hit you with a couple of stories out of here, and um, definitely uh, give this a go. And this is an infamous story here. So just hang tight and we'll get through this. October 1938, the night before Halloween. Anybody with a good eye to the paranormal and is tuning in knows exactly where this is going. Wisconsin-born Orson Welles was to become an accomplished film and radio producer whose newest radio program was to premiere that evening. It had begun as many other programs from the Mercury Theater on the Air had, orchestra playing behind a narrator giving introduction. What the majority of listeners didn't hear or fully understand that evening was the program, as stated in the beginning. Oh, come on. Okay, I'm going to start that again. What the majority of listeners didn't hear or fully understand that evening was the program, as stated in the beginning, quote, The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells was indeed based on a fictional book from 1898. The confusion could be forgiven, as everything else about the show was made to seem to the listening audience as a mundane radio program that was continually interrupted by fake news broadcasts as the fictional events unfolded. This was the program's real intent. Despite how things developed, the program was not a complete secret ahead of time. In 1938, the radio schedule for each evening and several days to follow were carried in the newspapers, much as today's television programs are listed. The image from the Capital Times even explained the show and when it would air. Role of the narrator, who is of the few humans to survive the invasion of Earth by inhabitants of Mars, will be filled by Orson Welles. He goes on to share an adaptation of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds tonight on WBBM at 7 o'clock. For those listening that evening, the first sign that this was not going to be a normal program came suddenly. Oh, excuse me. Good push. Only several moments into the show, the host seemingly interrupts to make a startling announcement. Explosions were visible on Mars, citing a professor in Illinois. Cutting in and out over the next hour, the storyline continued, with faux experts and on-site reporters speaking of crash flying saucers and alien beings wreaking havoc across the countryside and indeed around the world. The shockwaves of this live radio program were felt instantly by the country. The Crosby Service estimated that over 32 million people tuned in to listen to the program that infamous evening. Some studies of the time showed over 1 million persons thought it to be a broadcast of true events. The New York Times reported on October 31st, 1938, front page and above the fold, radio listeners in panic, taking war drama as fact. The subtitle directly underneath read, "Many flee homes to escape gas raid from Mars. Phone calls swamp police at broadcast of Wells' fantasy." The article goes on to cite locations mentioned in the radio broadcast were the most affected. Some, quote, "apartment houses in New York were emptied hurriedly by frantic listeners." Quote, "Newspaper offices and police stations everywhere were swamped with calls from terrified people, many of them weeping, even so far as a nameless woman in Pittsburgh who tried to off herself, saying, 'I'd rather die this way than like that.' The fallout in Madison was reported as nothing too horrific. As a former Madison resident myself, sure, we would like to claim that it was just our better senses prevailing, when it was more likely attributed to the popular Charlie McCarthy's radio program that ran a similar time slot on a different station. In fact, it was speculated that Orson Welles timed the most sensational segments of his broadcast to coincide with breaks of other popular radio programs running at the same time. As a result of this broadcast, there were numerous probes and general grandstanding by American senators, because of course there were, the CBS network, and the FCC. Adaptations of this program were rebroadcasted around the world over the years, with some meeting even more tragic and deathly results. Now, the fun thing about that program is I actually did listen to it. There is an original version that had been on YouTube years ago, and to listen to it, even if you came in kind of late, you could kind of tell it was an act. There was no way that they were selling it as a real event. They were just, it was like an experiment of sorts in different ways of storytelling. Um, so yeah, I would say that the case of the War of the Worlds pretty open and shut. I mean, nobody, like the grand majority of people did not think it was real. They knew it was entertainment and they took it as such. It's just that some people, maybe they just weren't paying attention. They thought it was the real deal. But there are more great stories in this book. Again, that's UFO Wisconsin, a progress report by Noah Voss, forward by Chad Lewis. Feel free to give that one a look through. Just anytime you're curious about how UFO reporting is done in Wisconsin. Um, I mean, most people know me to be of sane mind and body, and I can confidently state that I have seen at least one real live UFO. Um, it was between the Dells and Reedsburg, kind of in that area that I like to call the Wisconsin Triangle, which is basically all of Sauk County. Um, it was a white to silver tic tac shaped object. It was flying through the air. I mean, it was not an airplane. There were no blinking lights or anything. It's just a silver tic tac flying through the clouds. And I look down for 1 second, look up, and it's gone. So, I mean, you never know around here. And speaking of the spooky and the weird, I did just get a new Christmas sweater, an ugly Christmas sweater. Just gonna lift it up here. So we got Merry Cryptids. And you can see here that there are quite a few cryptids. We do have Mothman. That Mothman's right there. We have what I believe to be the Wendigo right there. Bigfoot in the middle. Loveland Frogman right there. And I'm not entirely sure what this little dude is right here. little white winged dude. I'm not entirely sure on that. Could be the Jersey Devil, if I had to take a guess. But yeah, I'm going to be wearing a series of ugly Christmas sweaters from now until Christmas on the show. So be ready to see that. Um, but so ends Spooky Talk. Now, most of the time, Kevin and I like to say that this is the main event of the evening, but we're going to go into the Mount Rushmore for this week, which was Thanksgiving main dishes. Now, I'm going to have some controversial choices here because maybe my eating habits are a little different than yours. So, first, Thanksgiving main dish on my Mount Rushmore of Thanksgiving main dishes, venison summer sausage. Because if you eat like me on Thanksgiving, I have essentially four different meals. So I'll have breakfast right away in the morning. That's kind of a natural. I got to have that with my coffee, otherwise I'm just bouncing off the walls all day. Yeah, you don't want that. Um, and then the way that my Thanksgiving goes, the first thing I will grab when I walk in is venison summer sausage. That's main dish number one on the day. Beth, it is not an appetizer if you eat the whole fucking stick. There's a whole ass plate of venison summer sausage sitting out. I'm eating the whole motherfucking thing. Some people go straight for the deviled eggs. I go for the summer sausage. Although I do love deviled eggs, but that's for a different discussion altogether. Told you. I told you it was going to be controversial. Number three on my Thanksgiving main dishes, green bean casserole. If this winds up being done like ready before the main course, I'm gonna get all over the green bean casserole. Especially if there's bacon in it and you're covering all of the fine points. You got your gravy, you got your green beans, you got your meat. Like, what more do you need? So that's my number three for Thanksgiving main dishes. My number two, now we're going to be getting kind of into a little more quote unquote sane territory. My number two Thanksgiving main is ham. Like just a regular ass Virginia ham. And that's, that is a thing. And then, of course, I mean, if you don't have this at number one, you're just silly, completely silly. Your Thanksgiving, if my Thanksgiving main dish, my number one, top of the line, turkey. Turkey is my number one. Now, Beth, normally I would agree with you. However, portions of my family are a slight bit stranger than I am, uh, and some just don't or can't eat turkey. Like, what are you going to do with that? So you got to have meat for them somehow. So ham it is. And sometimes you want to just knock two holidays out at once. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Exactly. Fair enough. Oh, I've seen how it's transported. I've seen how it's been prepared. I am not all in on the roast beef from Arby's, no matter what the day is. I will eat any other meat from Arby's, but the roast beef is just no. Okay, so got a little time here at the back end of the show. Oh, I'm gonna be there anyway. It don't matter. I'll be there. I'll be there. Or I'll be square, and I'm not square. I am round. So that being said, got a little time here. I'm gonna kind of let you guys control the direction of the show. Fair point. However, I will see your ham and raise you prime rib. A perfectly done prime rib on New Year's Day hits different. So that being said, it's time for Ask Corey Almost Anything. And I just realized now, 37 minutes into the show, I forgot to do the full intro. So if you've been here for the last 37 minutes, this is definitely the Widiots. I am CMC, aka Corey, aka Mechanimal, whatever other names you may call me. Missing in action is our esteemed co-host, MCKD, as he is getting ready to go hunting for white-tailed deer, which, as I highlighted earlier in this episode, I've already got mine. I hit it with my work truck. So there's that. But anywhozer, if you kind of slept through the other segments, we are getting into the last segment of the evening, one where I turn the show over to you. It is Ask Corey Almost Anything. So, with that being said, line them up and spit them out, guys. I want to see some good ones. Nope. Don't suspect I'll be having a +1 either. For those that maybe for some reason are unable to read the captions that I'm putting up here, Beth asked, "Do I have my +1 yet for Friendsmas?" My +1 is most likely going to be a couple bags of chips or something that I can bring, because I just have a feeling I'm probably not going to have anyone with me. Watching the new Stranger Things would require me to watch the old Stranger Things, and that's quite a bit of work. So I don't know if that's going to happen. It may happen sometime down the line. I did just finish the Monsters Ed Gein series this week. Um, that was certainly a fascinating finish to the series. The final two episodes are basically a fever dream while Ed is in the asylum. Um, which reminds me, I do have to do. Which does remind me, I do have to do research on Richard Speck for some reason now. Anyhow, um, because you're smart and you like smart people. And maybe, perhaps, I came to your aid a couple of times. Perhaps, just throwing it out there. Ugh, holy cow. All right. Who's next on the old question train here? What is on my Christmas list? I don't really have a wish list. I just don't. Kind of gave up on that idea years and years ago. Um, Most of the time, if somebody even just thinks to put in the effort to get me something, I'm deeply appreciative of it. But main thing, I guess, on my Christmas list, if you will, would be just continuing to be alive and being here and entertaining you guys and doing things that make people feel good. So, I mean, if that's worthy of a Christmas list, I guess that's on mine. Yeah, why is nobody else asking anything? Beth can't carry the show here. Oh, I do love me some Winona Ryder. Um, Ever since Beetlejuice, that that she's an incredible actress, and I am gonna have to check out that episode of Hot Ones for sure. All right, we need some contributions from the rest of the peanut gallery here. I mean, I'm ready to answer some tough questions. This is what the people demand. I mean, this is easily the dumbest show of all time, but clearly, I mean, cripes, it ain't even snowing tonight. The sky is beautiful. Like, why aren't you awake for that shit? It's not even 8:30 yet. Oh, excuse me. Well, I'm no weatherman. Uh, I think the actual first snowfall of the season, which I guess for me would be an inch of snow that actually sticks around for a while. Um, I would say probably second week of December, most likely on a Tuesday because that would be the day I'd be the furthest from home because that's usually how it goes for me. So yeah, we'll say the second Tuesday in December. Of course, this greatly depends on where you're at. Um, Technically speaking, I think Wisconsin Rapids area already got their first snowfall of the season a couple days ago. I just barely got some flakes in Coloma that morning, and then Tuesday nights when I hit the deer. So, uh, anybody else here that would like to partake in Ask Corey almost anything? I realize I'm sitting here like this and looking somewhat like Steve Jobs, but believe me, I am neither that smart nor that rich. I'm just a guy sitting here drinking a non alcoholic beer on a Friday night talking to you people. Ah, yes, Skullman cometh. Zombie apocalypse is happening. You get to pick three people for your survival team. Who you picking? Well, now that is a fantastic question. So we gotta fight off the zombies naturally, and I'm assuming I can pick anyone living or dead. So, um, let's see here. Well, I'll dig back into the historical archives here. I'm gonna pick Genghis Khan. He's gonna join the team. Uh, Notable strategic warlord. Also, give me General Patton and third person. Hmm. Somehow I think we would need air support. So give me the American Ace of Aces, Richard Bong. So yeah, that's what we're gonna go with. Genghis Khan, General George S. Patton, and Dick Bong, the American Ace of Aces, to be my survival team. Well, folks, I will tell you this. Anytime is an appropriate time to put up the Christmas tree. Most of the time, I would say normally you could do it after Turkey Day and you would be fine. But as we pan across my room here, if you look close, you could see Charlie Brown tree. My Charlie Brown tree stays up year round. Typically speaking, though, I put my Christmas decorations out on Thanksgiving night. That's when I do it. Anybody that puts up their Christmas decorations before Thanksgiving or right after Halloween are just trying to get ahead of the cold, and I'm not going to slight them in the slightest. But yeah, for me, preference wise, Thanksgiving Day is the day that the decorations go up. Well, I mean, at least you're one time zone over. Just got to count back an hour. You're good. It's just as dark over there as it is over here. That's a good one. Uh, Continuing with appropriate questions. Okay to ask for a wedding gift back if it ends in divorce. You know what? If it's in, hmm, I would say there's got to be a timeline to it. If the marriage ends in 5 years or less, yeah, absolutely okay to ask for the gift back. But if the marriage lasts 5 years or longer, it's essentially one of theirs at that point, and the ship has sailed. Let them have it. Ooh, hey, that's a good one. Um, if I could hang out with a cartoon character, who would I pick? For obvious reasons, I would take Shaggy. I feel like he's got the hookup. Um, so yeah, Shaggy would be one from Scooby Doo. Um, I would say, another good one to hang out with. I feel like would probably be Peter Griffin. Just to be the smart one in the room, kind of comes naturally. I mean, why wouldn't you want the American Ace of Aces flying an A-10 Warthog to burn a whole bunch of zombies out of the grouping? Because zombies attack in packs, and if the pack gets a bit too big, it'd be kind of nice to have somebody who could fly an A-10 Warthog and just come in guns a blazing. Yeah, Chris. Stewie would be a safe hang because as long as you're not Lois, he ain't gonna try to kill you. Yeah, Cartman's a solid choice. Absolutely. Um, if I was to hang out with a South Park character, I would most likely be hanging out with Randy Marsh because who wouldn't want to? Randy Marsh is a solid human being. Hmm. This is very true. Um, Obviously, it's going to be a big day tomorrow if you're watching this right now. Tomorrow is Saturday, the 22nd, and it is the opening day of deer season in Wisconsin. It's a 9-day season. Runs right through November 30th, I believe. Uh, Estimated numbers of available deer notwithstanding, uh, there is easily going to be a large amount of people with firearms out in the woods tomorrow morning. Um, and that's why I titled this week's episode Treat Every Hunter as If He Were Loaded, because, yeah, well, he's either drunk or, you know, got something going in that old 30-30. To be fair, I've already taken one off of that estimated number. So, I mean, if they're only counting the bucks, one is definitely spoken for. Currently in the ditch somewhere in Washera County between Coloma and Friendship. I'll believe it when I see it. I feel like those numbers have been inflated since probably about 1999. Pretty sure I went out hunting for the first time in 1998 or 1999, and yeah, I winged one, but we didn't really see that many. Of course, you got to remember this is the same department in the state that tried to say that a cougar was a large house cat. So I like to think that they're just playing hide and seek a lot better. Um, 'Cause I know, like, we have deer that hang out in our backyard here, and they go into hiding about a week ahead of the opening day. and you don't see them until the 1st of December. They know when it's safe. Deer are not stupid. They're basically just giant rats. They get suspicious of something and they're just going to hang out and wait. Hmm. Ooh, that's a solid ass question. Um, who would win out in an all out town battle royal? Elroy and New Lisbon combined versus Mauston. Um, let's see. If you combine Elroy and New Lisbon, the population number is roughly the same as Mauston. Um, shit. You know, whew, having spent a fair amount of time in all three towns, I feel like the people in New Lisbon and Elroy are a little bit more wiry. Um, feel like they would be the spark plug of the fight. Um, basically, it would be a battle of attrition until you can get down to the last few Maustonites. Um, honestly, I'd probably have to say Mauston would win, just because I don't know. I feel like their old people are tougher than the Lisbon and Elroy old people, and I've got nothing to base that on. Absolutely nothing at all. My last dinner ever. What am I having? Well, that depends. Am I having it for the enjoyment of the last meal, or am I going to try to eat enough to make my casket explode like I'm Henry VIII? Because if it's option one, where I'm just there for the enjoyment of it, get me a personal pan Hawaiian pizza from Pizza Hut, a 10-piece chicken McNugget from McDonald's, the Buffalo Blue Burger from Carter's Pub and Grill in New Lisbon, and a side of sweet potato fries. That would be if I wanted to enjoy it. Now, if I want to blow up my casket like I'm Henry VIII, um, give me the entire fucking McDonald's menu. And if I'm not satisfied with that, give me the entire Burger King menu. Eventually, there will be enough gas built up that the casket will go kaboom. So, I mean, take that with a grain of salt, obviously, but for sure, for the enjoyment, yeah. Personal pan Hawaiian pizza from Pizza Hut, 10-piece nugget from McDonald's, Buffalo Blue Burger from Carter's Pub, and some sweet potato fries. That would be an excellent way to go out, wash it down with a beer. Beth, are you trying to tell me that you did not know that Henry VIII's casket blew up? You have to remember, Henry VIII was a very large man for the time. He was also, he had a lot of health issues. He had one leg that was rotting. I mean, you can smell them from three rooms away. That is an actual quote. Well, it's simple, Beth. Why would I want mine to? Imagine this. So you're in the funeral home. I have expired. And go through the selected song list that I have carefully curated to include Another One Bites the Dust, Highway to Hell, Stairway to Heaven, just to really confuse them all. And then the final song of the day, as I'm getting lowered into the ground. Somebody will have an organ somewhere nearby, and they will slowly and ominously play Pop Goes the Weasel. Let that tension build. And, potentially as one last final crescendo from me, all of a sudden, there goes my casket. Hmm. If I could participate in one historical event, what am I picking? Hmm. Hmm. I got it down to a real event and one that is claimed to be real, but is more of a conspiracy theory. So I'm going to give the real one first because it's easiest. That's going to be the night that Jack McCall shot uh, Wild Bill Hickok in Deadwood, South Dakota at Saloon Number 10. Um, yeah, that would be the primary one I would go to for a historical event. That just I, it in all honesty, I just want to see what his hole card was. Everybody knows he was holding the aces and eights, but what was the fifth card? That's what I want to know. As for the historical event that is potentially real but potentially not, and also one of my favorite conspiracy theories, I would have loved to have been in the hangar where allegedly President Eisenhower met with an alien delegation from outer space, which was allegedly the pact that would lead to the aliens trading ideas with us, which led to the invention of the microwave, the television, and many other things, including the cell phone. So, I mean, I'd say that's a pretty stand up group of possibilities that I would love to be a participant in. Beth, you will be there because it's proven that women outlive men for reasons that Kevin, Scully, and myself have clearly demonstrated. Um, Now, I'm not saying that my casket will explode, but tell me you wouldn't want to be there while somebody plays Pop Goes the Weasel and you're expecting that some bitch to pop open. Hmm. I have the ability to time travel. What advice am I giving to my younger self? Hmm. I would say there's those things of, don't do this, don't do that. That neither of those things worked, shit like that. No, I would go back there and try to enrich myself. So I would go back 10 years or whenever it was that Bitcoin was just getting started out and was only like a few bucks. And I'd be like, buy like 500 of them fuckers. Take out a loan if you have to, but get like $500 worth of Bitcoin when it's still like $1 and just let that shit grow. And then pull out when it peaks, obviously. So yeah, that's what I would tell my younger self. I don't know what would make you think that I need help. I'm perfectly fine. Oh yeah, absolutely. Hot tub time machine would be the way to go. Ooh, yeah, solid choice. Very solid choice. I mean, conversely, you can also go back and get like, you know, get things that have just only been recently found. So like that extra Honus Wagner card that's suddenly appeared. I think that's right. I think there was a second Honus Wagner card. Oh, that's a bad beat right there. 100% bad beat. Like, how is that even possible? Oh, this just makes me smile right here. People telling me I need help. Oh man. Yeah, that's brutal. Of course, he was probably feeling that in hindsight. Hmm. Well, I mean, childhood's a wash. Like, so the question is, what is the best era of your life thus far and why? Um, Childhood's kind of a wash because I can only remember from like 5 or 6 years old on. Um, Television wise, probably like from 5 to 10 is easily the best, uh, or like 4 to 10. It's probably the best era for TV as far as I'm concerned because you have the original run of Unsolved Mysteries, you have Rescue 911, you have The Golden Girls, you have Married with Children on the original run. Um, like mid 90s WCW and WWE and all that good stuff. So entertainment wise, probably like that 4 to 10 range is just like tops. School wise, I peaked in fifth grade when I got straight A's, like the whole year. Um, Not gonna lie, high school kind of sucked. Didn't like it. Uh, didn't really have a college era, if you will. Just didn't exist. My 20s are kind of a blur, as some of you would know. Um, I would say probably the best era thus far is the one I'm currently in right now. Um, Good job, decent earnings. Got this little show right here. I'm entertaining people with one of my best friends on the planet. Um, got connections all over the place. So, yeah, I would say this era right now, post COVID Corey, is probably the way to go. Okay, last call for questions here. I'm going to try to wrap it up in an hour and a half or less here. I mean, we're already at an hour 11. Oh, excuse me. So, I mean, bring the heat, but if I'm not seeing anything, I'm going to be shutting her down early. Beth, are you still here? Hey, there she is. Say her name and she appears. She's just like Joe Hendry. Best TV dad. Good, great question. Um, I think the standard bearer of TV dads was probably the dad on Leave It to Beaver. I'm just gonna put that out there. I think he was a standard bearer. Um, Honestly, this would be a pretty contentious um, Mount Rushmore of TV dads if Kevin and I were to get into it. But I would have to say the best TV dad is probably either Al Bundy or Archie Bunker. Yeah, Dan from Roseanne would be up there, like by far. He'd be up there. I think he'd be just on that tier below Al Bundy and Archie Bunker. Um, the the one episode that keeps popping up on my FYP on TikTok is that scene where he finds out that I think it was Aunt Jackie got beat up or something, and he went and took care of the problem. So yeah, Dan was a badass. Yep, Al Bundy scored 4 TDs in a single game for Polk High School, and he rode that pony until it died. Red Foreman is a great TV dad as well. Not only are his lines perfectly delivered, but as a Wisconsin dad, he had the correct upbringing because for a brief period, Kurtwood Smith did live in New Lisbon. Went on to become Red Foreman. And he was also the one dude on RoboCop as well. Hmm. Oh, Saget after Full House. 100%. If you've never heard him do a comedy special, good God, go back and watch. The dude was a mess, and it was the best kind of a mess. I fully would recommend Bob Saget after Full House, especially when he shows up in oh shit, what was that movie? It was the one where the guy had to go into rehab for smoking weed, and Bob Saget's there, and he says, well, that line. Why can I not think of the name of that freaking movie? Either way, Bob Saget after Full House, 100%. Because finding out that Bob Saget has that sense of humor, half baked. That's it. I knew Chris would come up with that one. Yeah. Once you see Saget and half baked, there's no going back to Full House. It's like finding out that Tony Schiavone can cuss up a storm. I mean, it's great. Um, I fully recommend anybody looking for like an outsider story on Bob Saget. Find that Brad Williams bit where Saget comes running up to him, and Brad Williams is a little person, and Bob Saget came up to him and said, "Hey, you want to meet John Stamos?" Brad Williams is like, "Yeah, duh." Turns out Bob had an ulterior motive for this. He had an ulterior motive for this. Turns out John Stamos has a fear of little people, and it's an actual clinical fear. So once Saget let him in on that, he knew what he had to do, and he started just like absolutely humping Stamos's leg. Greatest bit you'll ever hear. You need to track it down. It's on YouTube somewhere. Oh, he was in Dumber Dumber too? Shit. Now I gotta go back and watch that again. And that's the second one. Okay. Why is that not firing in my memory? Maybe I didn't see. Oh, that's why. It was the one that I hadn't seen. It was the one that flopped. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, now it's coming together. Well, either way, I'm still gonna watch it at some point. Just like at some point, I'm probably gonna watch Stranger Things. Maybe. Yeah, that would be a hard line to forget. Okay. Any other questions? Because I'm gonna start to wrap this up. I think. Let's go out on a high note. Let's go out with a banger here. Who's got a banger of a question to ask me? Oh, excuse me. Sorry if I'm grossing anybody out with these belches, but it's from this NA beer. Yeah, sure. It's 8675309. I'll give you a minute to figure that one out. Now she gets it. Hmm. I'm trying to think if I even had any hobbies when I was a kid. Let's see. Played video games a little bit. I still do that. Collected books, but mostly like Garfield books. So it was like the anthology collections of Garfield. So like every year, they would just crank out a new book full of like the newspaper comic strips. So yeah, I did a little bit of collecting with it when I was a kid, and I still do some collecting now. Only it's a little different. I have beer advertising kind of just like all over the place here. Um, so yeah, I guess I'm a bit of a collector of historical properties. So yeah, I'd say I do still have that particular hobby today as well. Okay, got time for one more question, and then we are gonna call it a day. I just want to thank everybody right now for coming on and listening today, watching, whatever it is you decided to do. Um, we don't have this show without you guys. Again, we got one more week without Kevin, and then he's back full time. Um, so next week, I think I'm looking at Thanksgiving side dishes and maybe some other things. We'll see what we go with there. Also, this week, before I get to Scully's question, um, this weekend, tomorrow night, I will be at the Old Baraboo Inn. Feel free to come and see me. I'm not sure when I'm going to get there, but we do have a couple guys coming up from Chicago to lead the tours and have a little fun up there, especially in regards to the gangsters. So feel free to come and check that out. I'm not sure where we're at with ticket sales or anything like that. So I mean, if there's some walk up still available, show up. You might be able to get in. I think it's like $25 a crack. So do what you can there. And was it Steve Bartman's fault? It absolutely was. If there was ever a Cubs team that should have won the World Series in a situation where they did not, it was that team. Like Bartman should have known better, should have stayed back, let the ball fall where it did, because him catching it did not help the Cubs at all, especially interfering with the outfielder in that case. So yeah, it absolutely was his fault. I wish no ill will on him. Nobody else really seems to anymore either because nobody can remember that far back because, oh, look at that. The Cubs won the World Series in 2016. So I think it all kind of worked out in the end for him. All right. Well, on that note, I will be back next week Friday. Most likely solo. I think Kevin's going to be busy through the end of next week. Again, Kevin will be back first week of December. Then we'll be back to the tandem. Um, Next week, we are looking at the Mount Rushmore of Thanksgiving side dishes, where I'm sure to piss somebody off, which that should be fun. Um, It's just going to give me an opportunity to talk about more food. I'll also be reading a selection from one of my many paranormal books within the state of Wisconsin. Um, I don't know. Maybe we'll check up on Florida Man next week just to see what's going on down there. Um, Beyond that, I appreciate everybody for jumping in today, watching the stream, and I'm gonna probably start trying to figure out how to upload the archives onto the main YouTube page, just for that when we had that little break there. So, um, 10-4, I will definitely watch that. Um, but yeah, in the meantime, in between time, show up back here next Friday, 7:30. I'll be here. 100% will be here. Um, let's have some fun on a Friday night. I love most of you. Deuces.